Well, hi, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. Yes, this is Ursie, and I'm giving another free mini star seed galactic astrology reading. I'm allowing myself to practice and tune in to what wants to show up. Thank you for taking the time, if you're interested, in looking at how to work with that free online calculator through Julia Balaz at starseedsastrology.com. Okay, the reading today is for Anna, also known as Deep Pond. Okay, Anna, Deep Pond, let me share my screen and let's take a look at your galactic journey. I've typed in all your birth information. I've looked at the astrology, and now I'm starting with what's called the basic report. Okay, here we go. Now, your chart is very interesting for me because it's very similar to my own in the sense that when we look at Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, we're looking for your star nation of origin, where your soul first incarnated within our solar system. And we're not seeing anything on Pluto, Neptune, or Uranus. Then we go up here to the sun line. Here's the sun in Taurus, and we're looking for your most recent lifetime before this incarnation on Earth. And we're seeing the sun, moon, and ascendant lines are blank when it comes to conjunctions or oppositions. So that's a little bit of a mystery, right? But before I move on, I want to show you there are 3 soul connections to Hydra. One in your midheaven in Aquarius, your Chiron, and your part of fortune. So Hydra shows up very strongly. And if you go back and listen to another mini reading that I gave for quantum living, you'll find more information on the constellation Hydra. Also, you could see many people know about Andromeda. You've got your Andromedan star family support helping what's called your North Node and your South Node. In this lifetime, you've agreed to your North Node in Libra, but you have Andromedan support. All right, let's now move to your extended report. And to do that, I click these 2 boxes and I hit the extended report system. Here we go. Now, if the sun line has now 2 soul connections, but you can see they say sextile and trine. We're looking for conjunctions or oppositions to determine your most recent lifetime at these 3 placements, sun, moon, or ascendant. Just glancing at your chart now, we're seeing, here's Andromeda, your midheaven, the top of your chart. It has so much support. Look at this. This is a marker in my intuitive sense, and remember, this is practice, that you have all the support to help you achieve out in the world, your vocation. It could be in the house, because that is also a vocation. So it's not necessarily your career in the world, but it's typically that. Okay? So let's see, what else do I notice? Ooh, look how full your Chiron line is, as well as your part of fortune. So this tells me in this 10th house of career, you're also bringing in some areas that perhaps in the early, if you look at your life in 3 phases, triphasic, the childhood, young adulthood, and then adulthood. So the first 2 areas of your life, perhaps your childhood and young adulthood, there could have been some significant wounding. And as you move into that 3rd phase of your life, here's who's here to help you. You also have a sextile to the galactic center. This is a portal for galactic travel. Very interesting. Okay, well, let me show you what I did over here. Because your chart was such a mystery, it was not one of those easy ones to figure out, oh, this is your star nation of origin and here's your most recent lifetime. So I'm going to I called you deep pond. Here is your astrological chart based on astro.com. Okay, what do I see here? You have what's called, well, first I'll go through some basics, your ascendant. Look at this. It's just so amazing to me how every birth chart is so different. Your ascendant is at 0 degrees of Cancer. Look at that. Boom. So the moon is going to play a key role for you, and the moon is sitting in the 7th house of one-on-one relationships, but it's also sitting right next to Saturn, the planet of constriction and the law. So here's the setup, and we're going to see a pattern arrive pretty soon. Your sun is in beautiful Taurus in the 11th house of networking. Your moon, we said, was in the 7th house, and here it is sitting in Capricorn. You know, so there's a setup where you're going to be very successful potentially in the work world, but here's the big challenge. You see at the top of your chart, you have Aries. This is this glyph for Aries. And this whole sign, which is 10, 20, 30 degrees of Aries, is what's called intercepted. This whole sign of Aries has been intercepted by the 11th house. And equal and opposite to that is the 5th house, where we find the opposite of Aries is Libra. See where this line starts? It starts in the sign of Virgo, and then it consumes all of Libra, and then it begins here to Scorpio. So what we would call this is you have your Aries and Libra intercepted. And wouldn't you know it, you got your North Node, the placement of where your soul is focusing its energy. Here's your life mission. It's in the house of Libra. I'm sorry, in the sign of Libra, in the 5th house. So I'm going to put some of those tea leaves together and see if I can come up with a cohesive sentence for you. Okay. When we have an intercepted house, what does that mean? Or an intercepted sign? So when Aries and Libra, these two signs, here's the sign of Aries and here's the sign of Libra. Let me tell you what just the signs mean. Aries is intercepted. So you, see if this lands well with you. You will struggle to assert yourself, Aries, and maybe even bottle up your feelings. Think back childhood and young adulthood. Did you struggle to assert yourself and bottle up your feelings? And then unfortunately, sometimes with an intercepted house, then you may eventually explode. And because of those explosions, Libra, it's hard to form one-on-one balanced relationships. Okay, Libra's all about the one-on-one. It's typically the sign that we, look towards for marriage. So here we go. So that's the setup for the signs. But we have to have one more layer. So again, bottling up feelings, exploding, and having trouble establishing in the early 2 phases of your life, relationships. But now I want to read it from the houses. House 11, see that number 11, and house 5. So these signs are being intercepted in house 11 and house 5. And this is so important because your North Node is saying, work over here. What does the intercepted houses mean? Well, the 5th house down here, see how huge it is? It's where your joy is. It's your children, your social networks. I'm sorry, it's your children. It's how you creatively show yourself in the world, your self-expression. Think of it's time on the stage. It's the spotlight on you. So it's being intercepted. And then the 11th house is all about your social networks. Social networks and your expression. So that's the stage set for you. So it could be children at home and how to navigate within the networks. Repression of my feelings and then explosion. So I know these are just stories, so you only pick up what feels right and what doesn't feel right. But when I looked at your astrological chart, it's like, wow, there's seemingly this idea of the 5th and the 11th house, joy, and then networks. And then I assert myself and my one-on-one relationships. Let me go back to the starseed report though, because that's the astrology, but let's go see who's there to help you from a galactic perspective. So let me go back to sharing my screen. Do you see why I like this so much? It's like a little Rubik's Cube of, let's see if it works or not. Okay, so I'm going back. Here we go. I'm going to open this up. Let's read the tea leaves. The first thing I do, deep pond, and I love how you said deep pond, because deep water, that's a lot of, reminds me of Scorpio. All right, let's see. So remember I said the 5th and the 11th house is where the drama is going to be? Well, your sun is on the 11th house. Okay, and the drama perhaps from Draco, trining Tubin, you can Google Tubin star seeds and just understand what was the narrative and setup. But it's with your brightest light, your sun. Okay, South Node is coming from. So this is where your ancestral past, this is where you've come from, and this is where you're pointing. So my 2 cents of advice, or free advice, so you decide if you like this advice or not. When it feels uncomfortable or the challenges show up, I would, if I were you, call on your Andromedan starseed family, call on your Syrian starseed family, and your Vegan starseed family. This is a huge lineup of support. Syrians, Lyra Vegans, and Andromedans. I don't know how it can get more powerful than that. Maybe Arcturian as well. But these are the starseed families that you can go to for support. And then as we go further down, here's where house 11 shows up. Yep, so it's a 5th house, 11th house. Look at this, the whole setup is for those 2 houses. Again, the 5th house, where your joy resides, your self-expression. So children are part of your expression and creativity if you've decided to have children, or as a painter, for me, that's my artwork. The 5th and 11th house, it's a very interesting axis. So I'm hoping that helped a little bit for a free mini reading. It's an interesting way of testing to see, is this accurate or not? So if you find yourself listening to this deep pond, put a little comment. Just tell me, was it 100% like off? Was it 50% on? Let me know how it lays with you. But for me, having studied astrology for years and various modalities, it's the starseed part that has me so fascinated, because it helps say, if I go into meditation or prayer, I can align with particular starseed families. This whole online calculator gives the names and calls out your star families. I don't know, there's something magical in knowing where you're from. It's like, you know, my husband's so proud of being Italian. I'm Italian, I'm Irish, you know, and I'm just more of a mix of a lot of things. And so I don't carry that, but I certainly do vibe with some of the starseed nations. So I'm following my bliss. I hope you do too. Let me know how it goes. So gonna sign off now and see you next time on the Ascension Playground. Bye for now.